her plans, her business plans for that cow and the calves that she's expecting, as well as the milk that it's producing. And it's a great story. And I hope to visit her again in another year. But that's the girl effect. That's exactly the story that the Nike Foundation captured so well. But let me just touch on a couple of the plight issues, just a bit of plight before I get to power. When girls are educated and fed and given access to health care, they survive. Their children are with 3 to 10 times more likely to survive. They will earn a living, and they will invest back their earnings into their children, and they will raise the living standards of that community. We know that we can change this picture. Study after study after study confirms that if young women are economically active, their country's economy grows and all members of their family benefit. They are less likely to be forced to be married, and when a girl in a developing country receives 7 or more years of education, she marries 4 years later and has 2.2 fewer children. We know this. Her children are healthier at birth, and she is better equipped to keep them healthy. The data suggests that an extra year of primary school boosts a girl's eventual earning power by an average of 10 to 20%. An extra year of secondary school by 15 to 20%. And because she is a girl, she'll invest about 90% of her earnings back into the family, into the well-being of the family. And she'll do everything she can to ensure that they're fed and healthy, and she will send her girls to school, and that virtuous cycle will continue. It all sounds very simple, and when you put it like that, it sounds too simple. But I doubt anyone here will accept or be naive enough to think it's actually that easy to unleash the girl effect around the world. There are deeply, deeply ingrained cultural biases that say girls aren't as valuable as boys, that educating girls is worthless or even dangerous to social stability. There are logistics that make it difficult for girls to attend school. Who'll take care of the younger children? Who'll get the water? Who'll get the food? There are so many questions. And there are laws that make it difficult for girls to get credit, start a business, or own property. And there are government policies at all levels constraining girls' economic options. So why am I so hopeful? And why do I believe we're on the verge of a breakthrough? I think 3 reasons. First, I think the lights have gone on with influential leaders around the world. And I'll start with the World Economic Forum. Last month in Davos, some of you are very familiar with the World Economic Forum, with the Toronto Economic Club's focus, but it's a gathering of business and political leaders at a very prestigious gathering. This year they flocked to something called Setting the Stage for the Girl Effect at Davos. Maria Attal, the president of the Nike Foundation, who created the Girl Effect video, she blogged about it. She said, can you imagine? We've gone from being a private event at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning at a hotel miles from the convention and no public transport, which still filled the room, to a mainstream event at Davos itself during the principal sessions, to a jam-packed workshop on the Girl Effect and countless sessions where the Girl Effect was raised and discussed. It was also at Davos that our Prime Minister announced his initiative for maternal-and-child-health, which all of you read about in the last couple of weeks. Canada has the leadership at the G8 summit this year, and the Prime Minister has made maternal-and-child-health his signature issue to lead on, together with his G8 colleagues. We're thrilled about this. We're thrilled that all of the work that I think a lot of us did in the background, I think helped the Prime Minister understand that this was his issue, this was Canada's issue, and so we're delighted. We were also impressed by the media who picked up the story and said, you know, we mourn 200,000 people who died in the Haiti earthquake, but more than 500,000 women around the world are dying every single year needlessly in childbirth, and 8.8 million children are dying under the age of 5 of preventable causes. And the headline said, you know, why did it take us so long to get this crisis on the global agenda? Some of us wonder too. A few months before Davos, investing in girls was also at the Clinton Global Initiative. And you see Barack Obama on the podium, and again, the discussion was around good business organizations have recognized investments in girls and women foster and maintain stable societies and successful markets for the future, and started to track the data that we've been collecting and talking about for a long time. that by closing the gender gap, we boost economic activity. In fact, a 1% growth in girls' enrollment in secondary school translates to a 0.3% growth in annual per capita income, according to study after study by the World Bank. Nobel Prize winner Mohammed Yunus was also there, and you recall Mohammed Yunus was the winner of the Nobel Prize in 2006 for his work on microfinance. He's now shifting some of his attention to the healthcare sector and announced a new social business model in the healthcare sector backed by Nike and the Gates Foundation. Then in money, where we don't usually find women and girls' health issues, again, we see from the quote that the world is gradually, the lights are going on about the effect of investing in girls' education and health. The U.S. Secretary of State is also promoting the rights of girls and women on a video clip on Oprah's website, and we appreciate anything Oprah Winfrey does. She encourages viewers to recognize the investment in the education of girls overseas is good investment for us here at home. You put Hillary Clinton and you put Oprah Winfrey together, and that's when things happen, and that's truly a girl effect. There's growing grassroots awareness of both the plight and power because of some of these initiatives. There's support across all of the social networks, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and many, many other sites. And they're raising funds, but they're also challenging all of us to get involved and do something. A great example of grassroots is Half the Sky, and I encourage all of you to pick that up at your local bookstore. It's built around the book that was by the same title, which was released September 2009 by Pulitzer Prize winners. And they're comparing this book, Half the Sky, to Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, which many of you are familiar with, which was instrumental in catalyzing the environmental movement in the 1960s. The Seattle Times predicts that it could ignite a grassroots revolution for girls like the ones that eliminated slavery. The title refers to a Chinese proverb that says, "Women hold up half the sky." The call to arms on this website says, "The best way to fight poverty and extremism is to educate and empower girls and women." And of course, it features endorsements from the celebrities who we all know and love and count on, Angelina Jolie and Melinda Gates and Tom Brokaw and, yes, George Clooney. And they're all very important spokespersons for us. Closer to home, we're seeing a huge spontaneous response to Plan Canada's own Because I Am a Girl campaign. I explained earlier how that simple but haunting phrase crystallized our thinking on the message we needed to take to the world. So just saying those words seemed to rivet people in their tracks. So 3 years ago, Plan started to track 143 little girls from birth in 8 countries around the world. And we committed to reporting on those girls every year till they reach their 9th birthday in 2015, when the Millennium Development Goals will have culminated. We know we'll probably stick with them to 18, which is the age of adulthood under the Convention on the Rights of the Child. But these little girls are telling us their story, backed by thematic research that we're doing about what are the conditions of birth, the contextual conditions of the economy they grow up in, whether their moms are literate or not literate, and what are the outcome, health, educational, and income outcomes as a result of that. This year they turned 4. I've met some of them, and goes without saying, they're all gorgeous. This year's Because I'm a Girl, which I think probably sparked the interest of the Economic Club. It was focused on the global economy, adding it all up. And we were not clairvoyant or knew what would happen to the markets when we started this research. But the theme was chosen well before we understood the horrible and disproportionate impact of the global recession on girls and women. Because they're often considered secondary income earners, who's the first to be let go of their jobs in a downturn. Just one example, in the Philippines, it was estimated that 7 out of the 10 layoffs were women. But when this year's report came out, we decided to also reach out in a very big way to Canadian girls and women, because we've been focused very internationally. And we said, get involved and get your families involved in overcoming injustice, and changing the lives of underprivileged girls. You may have seen some of the posters around town on the subways, etc., or heard the call to arms on